Assassin's Creed was one of the biggest hits of the 2007 holiday season. We sold more than 8 million copies of the first game. And now we're just coming out with the second one. Assassin's Creed 2 is taking place in Italy this time around. Desmond is going through the life of somebody else. It's called Ezio Auditore da Firenze. And this ancestor is now an Italian nobleman at the beginning of the game. And he'll become a master assassin throughout his adventure of Assassin's Creed 2.
We got together in Paris, brainstormed a bunch of different ideas, and finally decided that we thought it would be most interesting to focus on the events leading up to the beginning of our game, to give a sense of, what family life in the Auditore household was like, and then also hint at the beginnings of the conspiracy that our hero is going to discover once the game kicks off.
If you want to understand exactly some scenes in the game about, between the characters, you have to look for the movie. You have to watch it, and then you'll understand why the mother says one thing, why the father reacts that way, for example. So it gives more, and it's more content.
Let's talk about the corporate side of the original challenge that was proposed by Ubisoft to start on a project. Very quickly, Assassin came as a very good project to start with. The game was already started. They were working on it very hard, and the idea came to do a series of episodes as a short movie, able to be connected between each other, where background might be used directly from the game as an import to start, and after that we came with the proposition to use live actor to humanize mainly the film, and to do what we're built for. Mainly what we're used to is putting live actor on top of a CGI background.
Since our story does focus a great deal, at least initially, on the concept of vengeance, became apparent to us very early on, is that for this to work, the player, much like Ezio, has to grow attached to his family. And I think that's when, the idea of doing something like the films became very appealing to us, because it provided us with another way to further expand Ezio's backstory, in a different medium, in a way where we didn't have to concern ourselves as much with gameplay. We could focus entirely on character and story and universe building.
I hope that the product will have some impact on the gamer when he will start and he had the chance to see the 3 episodes. And I know that through the experience to making this movie also, we will be able to give our input to the game people that are generating and telling and inventing their story. You need to realize that a gamer is having his feeling by the way that he's playing. He generates his own excitement. A film, you're kind of passive, you're there, and the film is there to generate the emotion.
What was cool to have a movie being done while we were doing the game is that we could use some of the casting they did and put it in our game. So, for example, the father is basically the same guy. We just use his face and everything, and we had a recording session with him, but he's the same guy as you see in the movie. And that's pretty cool. That helped us out a lot, because sometimes it's tough to create a character from scratch, and actors, that's what they do. They create characters.
And as far as being part of a game, being in the game is very thrilling, very exciting. I feel like I'm in the part of something that's on the cutting edge. Technology is always evolving, and looking at Houston back there, we know that we're backed up with something that's going to be supporting all that. And you look at the costume, which is actual.
The detail.
You can feel it.
Être acteur réel à travers un jeu, waouh, c'est comme dire, bon, ben alors parfait, lui maintenant je sais que c'est lui le salaud, lui c'est le gars qu'il faut éviter, ça ce sont les embûches.
If a writer, whoever, my 12-year-old, my 19-year-old, or you start to write a story and you ask me, okay, put life into it, that's our job. It's our purpose.
Yeah, we have to give it life. How do we give it life? Well, you got to find the truth of the character. Where does it begin? Well, in this case, it begins with the game. That's the script.
I don't think of it as like preparing for a role for a video game. I think of it just preparing for a role in general, because it's filming and it's just like any other project, except it's going to be changed into the video game.
Whatever it may be, if it's a story and we need to reenact it, it's the same principle.
Je pense que quand l'humain propose une émotion, qu'il y a quelque chose qui brille dans son œil, où il y a un pli qui se fait au moment d'une réflexion, ou le mouvement du visage, la pureté de l'être humain pour exprimer une émotion, je pense que ça va apporter quelque chose de richissime au jeu.
By seeing these three preludes, if you wish, these three stories that are going to impregnate the players with emotion, with attachment, with a relationship to the characters.
You hit something that really resonates, and that's emotional attachment. That goes back to storytelling. You know, if gamers playing the game, maybe non-gamers that will see this might be interested in the game.
The video game aspect is not making a big difference, except for the fact that we need to sort of respect certain things that they're establishing in their world. We need to sort of keep that going. But that's about it. The rest is really about trying to tell a story the same way we would in a traditional environment. What is very different is the way we're going to produce that story. Now we're starting with some of the environments that were developed for the game, so totally virtual. And the questions were, is it going to hold in the movie world? 5 to 10% to produce of real things to produce for each scene. The rest was all going to be virtual. So what are you going to do? What do you need to provide to the director or to the actors and to the NASA team so that they will have enough information that they can work? A street, for example. What do you put in the street? A big room with big windows. What do you build? There's a fireplace there where, so you have to find a way to determine what's going to be essential for the actors, for the technicians, for the director, and for the post teams. 2 teams working on, different things. And that was part of the exercise for the departments, for the production designer, for the costume designer. They had to work differently than what we normally do.
We have a new way to be able to project the virtual environment imported from the game that just don't exist. Well, when you think about it, it's difficult for an actor to be able to give a performance in an environment that they have no idea where they're coming from, what it is, what is the size of the room, including the stunts, because they are obviously rehearsing and they don't have any limit with wall, but you need to find a way to be sure that during their action they're not passing through a virtual wall.
Very often, instead of doing the traditional way of shooting, you're going to rotate the actors, change the doors, change the windows, just basically revolve the whole world and keep the crew in the same position. And it's very abstract.
Like the idea we had mainly is to come with the projector, which is on top, and we are projecting the room on the floor. Like when it's time for all of the team to set up the environment and know where the wall need to be, where the table is supposed to be, where the fireplace is supposed to be, we're using this projection and we don't have anything to measure anymore. And when you do that, you are forced to render and to do some layout as architects, obviously, to project what is going to be the room. Like we can project a decent size in this, and we can orient the projector depending on the kind of shots we're dealing with. And obviously, this is why the team in the background are also checking and validating that on a shot-by-shot base to be sure that we're not doing mistake during the shooting, that we're going to find when we'll start to do the integration later. This project is very demanding post-production wise. Obviously, it is a shoot which is entirely done on green screen, which means at the moment you see an actor, you know that it was on green screen, and there's no shot that exists in that movie where post-production was not involved. There will be 750 shots, mainly roughly, if you count the 3 episodes together. It means that we have 750 different environment angles to produce, and we have to do the preparation and to do all of the pipeline steps. The first thing you have to do is to do the preparation of all of these clips, and it's a tough part of the process and the pipeline because you need to get rid of all of the different green dots, tracking mark, everything on the set that was there that need to be erased to have a very, very good green environment to make the integration in the future smoother and easier. In parallel, you have a team of trackers that are using some information from the green screen to be able to extrapolate how the two cameras were moving in space. Like all of these people are taking shot-by-shot base, they analyze the picture, and they're providing some kind of camera move file saying, okay, this is how the camera was moving in space. It's because if you have the pretension and the ambition to put all of these people on a future environment as the inside of a church, and the camera is moving with a very complex move, you are expecting that the environment is going to move exactly perfectly and tracking perfectly the original shooting from the green screen. This is what the tracking people are doing. After that, they're the layout, knowing that when a camera was shooting, what was the camera angle, the height, what is the real position of the environment to make the geometry work. Like all of these steps are done in parallel. After that, the 3D people, no matter what, they have a pretty good idea, and the modeling have done on these environments. They need to finish all of the details on these environments and moving with texture. And after that, giving life texture-wise to these environments from a film point of view and to give mood to it. You are compositing the live action on top of virtual background that now are moving perfectly in relation with the original camera movement. And you put these two things together. Sometimes it's 3 layouts, 4, 5. Sometimes we have 17 layouts to be able to reach our goal. And at the end, after there will be another process, it will be what we call a DI, which is a digital intermediate. We're going to move all of the one episode entirely and start a session of color correction when we will shot by shot readjust and fine-tuning all of the chroma, all of the mood, all of the ambience to get to the final result.
So we have more than only one setting available for us. That made the universe much bigger and much richer. And say the entire history with a big H is now available to us to make a game or a movie, or, TV series or whatever we want to make, books and comics, whatever we want to do in this universe of this formidable machine that let us relive the life of an ancestor. And that's really is the core of Assassin's Creed.
Ubisoft are storytellers. We are in a position that the gamer will be passive when he will take a look on our film. But we need also to participate in the storytelling. We are the potential to prepare him. And when he will see the film series, he will get a much better preparation to start his game. He's going to know mainly the character before he already start the game. He'll know things, he will know details. He will probably realize things that he already knows, but he doesn't realize he knows that yet. And I believe that it's a new way to prepare, but it's still a self-content project.
We know now logistically how to approach it in a much better way. It's much clearer. Technically, even creatively, we have much more specifics now that we're going to go through next time. And this is only the very beginning. We can tell. It's only the very beginning of something that promises to be very, very big and exciting.
It was in Montreal, Canada that Assassin's Creed 2 was made. The Ubisoft teams already responsible for the first episode in 2007 notably made use of motion capture, a technique that results in an extremely realistic animation quality. And for good reason. It comes from the real movement of actors. While it is used both in cinema and video games, this technique was actually developed by medical researchers to monitor diseases. Jacques Dussault, head of motion capture at Ubisoft Montreal, shows us how it works.
C'est qu'on a une multitude de caméras. Dans notre cas, on en a 48, le chiffre pourrait varier, qui regardent tous au même centre, au même volume, et qui essaient de voir les marqueurs et de s'assurer qu'elles ont les marqueurs dans leur champ de vision. Et ensuite, ces caméras-là sont capables de comparer chacun leur point de vue et donc de savoir à quel endroit se trouvait ce point-là dans l'univers. Donc, on arrive à situer en 3D chacun des petits points qui est sur l'acteur ou sur les objets qu'on capture. Et à partir de là, on trouve, à travers la technologie, les logiciels d'animation, on va accrocher une marionnette 3D qui tout d'abord est à la dimension de l'acteur et ensuite du personnage qu'on va avoir dans le jeu. On l'accroche à ces marqueurs-là et donc elle se met à bouger à l'intérieur de cet même espace et à agir exactement comme l'acteur agissait sur le plateau de tournage.
For a game like Assassin's Creed 2, 30 to 50 days of motion capture are required and no less than 25 actors, each of whom will animate up several characters and sometimes more.
Un gars dans la foule, un soldat qui se fait tirer dans l'œil par une flèche, un vieillard qui se fait poignarder, un noble qui donne un speech sur un balcon, un gars en train de conduire une calèche, mettons, etc., etc.
For a long time, the games industry used stuntmen or mime artists for this motion capture work, but now with the closer ties to cinema, it's real actors who play these virtual roles.
Commence une autre chose nouvelle que je trouve intéressante, c'est le mocap avec la prise de son en même temps. Donc, ils nous mettent un petit casque avec un micro, puis comme ça, au lieu d'avoir à synchroniser mes lèvres avec du dialogue préenregistré, c'est mon dialogue.
À côté! Shoot! Shoot the flying demon!
Apart from the voices, it's occasionally the faces of the motion capture actors that are seen in the game. That way, they can recognize themselves when they play the game.
Moi, j'ai une assez bonne mémoire pour ça, donc je suis sûr que quand je vais voir le jeu, puis mettons, il y a un garde là, qui me fait tuer, là, je dis « Hey, c'est moi, ça! » Ensuite, il y a aussi un personnage qui est moi, c'est ma face dans le jeu. Donc lui, je vais le reconnaître, je suis sûr.
Ties between cinema and video games are getting so close that Ubisoft has started production on a series of 3 short films based on the world of Assassin's Creed 2. To find out more about the making of Assassin's Creed Lineage, which is the title of the series, our next stop is Highbridge Studios. Located 1 hour from Montreal, this is where the special effects of the movies Sin City, 300 or the most recent Final Destination were all created. We have an appointment with Pierre Raymond, the producer of Assassin's Creed Lineage, to find out what the difference is between working for a Hollywood studio and a video game company.
Je me serais attendu à une différence plus grande que ce à quoi je suis habitué avec les studios. Or, c'est pas vraiment le cas. Je vois et j'essaie de traiter le groupe d'Ubi comme étant un studio à part entière pour ne pas sombrer un peu dans le piège de moins bien les desservir. Et eux ont la tendance naturelle à réagir de la même façon à l'écriture d'un script. On envoie le script, ils vont en cours de route en prendre connaissance. Ils n'achèteront pas le script dans l'état qui a été fourni dans une première passe. Ils vont revenir, ils vont vouloir le remodeler pour qu'il soit plus près du jeu. Ils vont faire un paquet de commentaires. Au niveau du casting, il y a des gens qu'on va avoir choisis qui n'aimeront pas. Exactement comme un grand studio.
Assassin's Creed is therefore first and foremost a solid story, so we asked Corey May, who wrote the scenario of the game and also worked on the film, to situate it in the chronology of the series.
The story of the films function as a prequel of sorts. They focus on Ezio's father, Giovanni Auditore, and they take place right before the events of our game begin. I don't think one is harder or easier than the other. It's different. You know, writing is hard no matter whether it's for a game, a movie, a book, television, you know, radio. So just in terms of the production process, it's a little bit different. With film and television, you know, you write the script, you turn it in, and then the whole thing sort of goes, and you'll show up on occasion, you know, if things aren't going so great, to do production rewrites or clean stuff up. Whereas on a game, you know, from beginning to end, it's almost like an extended production rewrite. I'm writing up until the very end.
Like for its other productions, Hybrid Studios shot with real actors against a green screen and then designed an entirely virtual set around them.
Il était impératif pour nous que le gamer puisse renaviguer à l'intérieur de son environnement et trouver la rue, la hauteur et l'angle de la caméra, comme si on y était. Au niveau de la 3D, au niveau du cinéma. Donc, on a littéralement importé tous les environnements dans une première phase. Et ensuite, on a fait ce que l'on devait faire pour être capable de les rendre, artistiquement parlant, relatifs à la vision que l'on avait pour la série, incluant l'éclairage et les textures, évidemment.
For the green screen shoot, the defining lines of the set that will be created around the actors are projected onto the floors. The correct positioning of the characters is essential. The presence of flesh and blood actors adds a human dimension to the game, and some people think that it may attract new players.
By seeing these three preludes, if you wish, these three stories that are going to impregnate the players with emotion, with attachment, with a relationship to the characters.
Something that really resonates, and that's emotional attachment. That goes back to storytelling. You know, if gamers playing the game, maybe non-gamers that will see this might be interested in the game.
Je trouve ça un peu particulier de vouloir limiter un créateur à un support chimique. Ça n'a absolument rien à voir. Parce que le jeu n'est pas une représentation d'un film qui va devenir interactif. Voyons voir. J'ai pas de boule de cristal.
To the entrance. Don't let him see you. Wait for my command. Oh, proud. father lived to see it. As for your mother, once I've dealt with you, I promise I'll give her my full attention.
Certain moments a man never forgets. His first kiss, his first